Dr. Boyce Watkins, and welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. And today we are here to do an intellectual chocolate all-Black panel, to have an all-Black discussion about what I think is an all-Black issue. And it has to do with this group called Black Lives Matter. And Black Lives Matter has been in the media a little bit lately due to some financial stuff going on. There's kind of a crazy little thing. The Black Agenda Report wrote what I think is an all-Black issue. The Black Agenda Report wrote about it, and I thought that it would be important for Black people to talk about it. And so to help me with this conversation, I invited two smart brothers in. One is John F. Thomas. John F. Thomas is out of LA, and he's a great social commentator and a very smart guy. And T. Khalik, and T is he's a guy that has a lot of opinions, and he's not afraid to share them. And so I want to welcome these brothers to the platform. How you doing today, man?
Oh, man, doing great, man. You know, just feeling great. Ready to go.
All right. So let me also invite everybody in, or welcome everybody in into the chat. Now, by the way, I still don't know exactly how on StreamYard I can let others come in as guests. Maybe some of you guys might want to come in that are watching and actually have something to say. I tried to share the link one time, and I said, just click on the link and see what happens. And I don't know if it worked last time, but I might try it again this time. As long as you promise, to act like you got some damn sense. We might bring in some people from the audience. So if you would like to be invited in, just say something in the chat, and we can bring you in. So let me brief you on the situation. So according to Black Agenda Report, there is almost like a revolt happening with the with Black Lives Matter. It almost seems like they have some member chapters that are really upset. They seem pissed that something is going on with the money, and that they're not being given the information that they feel they deserve to have. And it almost sounds like this is something that's been brewing for a while. It's not something that just happened yesterday. Like they in the statements I've read, it almost seems like they've been asking the leadership. And when I say the leadership, I'm talking about the three people that are responsible for creating the hashtag of the movement: Patrisse Cullors, Alicia Garza, and Opal Tometi. And so basically 10 chapters came together and are in pretty much, as Black Agenda Report says, open revolt, quote, against the individuals that have treated the mass movement as their personal vehicle for upward political, professional, and financial advancement. So effectively, the 10 organizations that wrote this, almost like an open letter, they've pretty much stated a few different things. And I'm going to read through this list so that everybody can kind of have the full facts. This is according to Black Agenda Report. I talked about it earlier, so I'm not going to do a lot of the talking on this. I'm going to let my guests do more talking than me. But I'll read some of this to you so we can kind of, know what's going on and refresh our memory. Basically, one, Patrisse Cullors, as the sole board member of the Black Lives Matter Global Network, became executive director against the will of most chapters and without their knowledge. So they're claiming that she unilaterally made herself the executive director of the Black Lives Matter Global Network, which it almost sounds like Black Lives Matter has been split into the Global Network and the Grassroots Network. So they said, number two, the newly announced formation of Black Lives Matter Grassroots does not have the support of and was created without consultation with the vast majority of chapters. So they created the Global Network and the Grassroots Network, and they don't seem to support the Grassroots Network. And I will be willing to guess that they're arguing that the Global Network got the money. The Grassroots Network is kind of, for the grassroots activists, like that's their stuff over there. Number three, the formation of Black Lives Matter Grassroots effectively separated the majority of chapters from the Black Lives Matter Global Network without their consent. So I guess they took most of the chapters, split them off from the Global Network, and put them in this Grassroots Network. And it says, and it interrupted the active process of accountability that was being established by those chapters. I'm going to stop there with those three. And I guess I'll start with you, John. John, what did you think? You read this article I sent to you guys earlier today. What are your thoughts when you read this?
I feel like it's just kind of like what you were speaking on earlier about it, that when you have an organization where a lot of people are sending money to you, and I think Shaun King almost got in trouble with it a while back, which is why some people still don't trust him. But he came out with receipts on where all this money was going, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you have to be very transparent when you have an organization like this, and it is put on the front lines of, hey, we are supporting whatever group. In this instance, we're talking about supporting Black people. Then you have to show that. I need to see receipts. You know, you just can't say, hey, give me your money and I'm going to help Black people, and yeah, don't worry about where this money going. We got you. That's not how that works. So that's what it seems like. I'm glad that this is at least coming out. So you have the people inside of this organization that is challenging the leaders at the top, because it's just like, hey, we need some more transparency. You need to send money to us, and we're out here struggling. And we know you're getting millions, because they're getting millions and millions of dollars. Because even the company that I worked at, they opened up, you know, some money lending to where, hey, if you want to donate to Black Lives Matter around when George Floyd died, that opened up. So a lot of companies were doing that, and they want to know, as I want to know, where is this money going? Where has the money been going? And we need that transparency.
Okay, so transparency, T. Let's start there. How much transparency do you think that is owed in this situation? What do you think could be going on here?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, you know, Black Lives Matter owes a lot of transparency, because it's not just the chapters that's been asking where's the money at. You know, I know average Black people just been asking, where's this money going? You know, because the thing is, if you're not seeing any change or anything new, you know, one is going to question what's going on. And I'm not going to bring up this individual's name, but, you know, Black people do question other Black people who take donations from them. They want to know what is going on with this money. So, you know, yeah, Black Lives Matter is no different from that. And the thing what makes Black Lives Matter a little bit unique is, people have to ask, how did they get so big? Who is truly supporting them? Is it Black people that's really elevated them to the top? You know, there are rumors saying that it's, you know, people like George Soros. And, you know, when you see the white liberal media talking about them in such a positive way, and that's something I always question. Anytime I see white liberal media or whatever media, let's just say white supremacy as a whole, uplifting a Black group or a Black person, that's a red flag to me. Because the thing is, a lot of our people will sell out or just pretty much say whatever their handlers have to say to get by. So yeah, when it comes to the Black Lives chapters, to me, I just feel like with the Black Lives Matters chapter and the grassroots, I feel like they were kind of doing their own thing in support of Black Lives Matter. And I feel like they were truly the sincere ones. And I feel like the Black Lives Matter organization at the top just pretty much ignored them. And now they're feeling left out and try to collect what is due.
Well, you know what it makes me think about? Back when that whole thing went down with Ice Cube, and everybody was the media was given the portrayal that most Black people and white people were not happy with Ice Cube, you know, asking or, you know, demanding reparations and things like that from the politicians. But one of the phone calls that we actually did get was a call from a politician who said, we're so happy that somebody is making noise about this, because we've been trying to get the leadership of the party to do more things for Black people. And Black people think we're not doing anything, but we're trying. It's just they won't let us do anything. Right. And effectively, I think what it tends to occur is that you have hierarchies within these organizations. You know, that white supremacy thing kind of sneaks into all different kinds of situations. So it can, you know, when I saw this, it kind of made me wonder, you know, is it one of those situations where it says, look, you know, we know what our agenda is. We know what we're trying to get out of this. We just got to trick you into doing all the work, you know, because Black folks, we love to do work for other people. We've been doing that for 400 years. So it's like, you know, even in voting, you know, we need y'all to go and do all the voting, and we're going to take all the power and run away with it and use it to take care of our corporate buddies and everything else. And I felt like, you know, that there was something a little bit sinister going on. So when I saw this article, it really kind of re-triggered that. What do you guys think in terms of, you know, just Black Lives Matter? I don't feel like I understand the group that much in terms of really getting exactly what they're doing. I see people going in the streets and protesting and holding up the signs, Black Lives Matter, people giving money. But what are they? What do they do exactly? Do you, either you guys even get that?
Man, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I just see them as controlled Black opposition, man. Like straight up, man. Because the thing is, let's just take the election that just took place. When I was reading media outlets about the protesters out in the streets, I was hearing there's some Black Lives Matter protesters out. And I'm just like, okay, if you guys are supposed to be supporting Black folks injustices when it comes to police, why are you outside protesting with white liberals regarding if President Trump or Biden wins? That made no sense. And even in 2018, when the Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh was about to get voted in, and there was a lot of feminists outside upset, Black Lives Matter was out there too. So to me, it just seems like a hijacked, controlled opposition for Black people to support a certain political agenda, more than likely lefty. And then when you also look at their platform that they just took down, that was not by accident that they had a platform that went completely against the Black family. That was concerted. Somebody thought of that. Somebody thought to put that in there. And that was strictly put in to create division within the Black community. So, yeah, to me, it's controlled opposition disguised as Black progress.
John, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Tariq that, they've been masquerading around a lot. I agree with the tagline, Black Lives Matter. But after that, I don't know. I can't see that this group definitely aligns up with the Black community and everything that the Black community is going through. Like, I just looked at the website just now on about Black Lives Matter, and it has, we affirm the lives of Black, queer, that's the first thing, of Black, queer, and trans folk, disabled folks, undocumented folks, folks with records, women, and all Black lives along the gender spectrum. And that's just really confusing to me in the sense of where, one, why don't you even have like Black boys and Black men? Because they're being targeted as well. So why was that? You put women, you specifically put women in there, but they left out men. So I feel like the wording is very, same thing, which I keep calling back to Dr. Claude Anderson, because I'm learning, I've just learned so much from him and from you and other people that I listen to, but you have to be very specific. So they are being very specific, and you have to look at the words that are being used, and the words that they're using. I don't feel like I'm being included in it. I don't feel like none of us are really included in it. And what's good for the Black community, I don't think that that's really in the forefront. It's almost like you're diluting this thing. It started out as Black Lives Matter, but it's a dilution. Basically what he's saying by white supremacy. So let's include everything else. It's almost like, oh, people of color. And it's like, no. I want to talk about Black people. I'm not talking about people, everybody else with a different hue and all this. I'm talking about Black people in particular. Because we're Black. At the end of the day, I'm going to be Black before I'm anything else.
And let me add on to that, because this is something that I really found strange, because I think this is some propaganda going wrong real strong here. If you notice, there's a lot of white people saying Black Lives Matter. Like, I've seen protests where it's nothing but white people holding up Black Lives Matter signs, and they're yelling at other white people saying, hey, do Black Lives Matter, pretty much bullying other white people to say Black Lives Matter. What's very interesting is, if you notice in the media, they're no longer talking about Antifa. Like, and I go back to the election that just happened where they would say things like Black Lives Matter protest, stab Trumper or something like that. And to me, this seems like a clever hijack, in my own opinion, where Antifa has been completely erased and they put a Black face on it, a Black movement. I feel like now our Black movement, well, I'm not even gonna say ours, but in the United States perception, the average Joe is going to think that's a Black movement, is now the ones acting like Antifa, yelling at people, destroying, rioting, looting, all under the Black Lives Matter name. And I think Black people have to be careful. Just because you see white people supporting you, their agenda is very different from yours, and we have to call that out. If Black Lives Matter is no longer serving our interests, we have to call it out, regardless of what people say about us.
Everybody who's watching, I'm with John F. Thomas and Tariq Abdul Khalik, and we are discussing a real interesting financial controversy with Black Lives Matter. It looks like some of the chapters have actually revolted openly against the leadership, basically claiming that they haven't been financially transparent, that they've resisted any form of economic accountability. Remember, I told you guys, a lot of this stuff comes down to economics. A lot of stuff comes down to money. You know, we talk about money a lot, and it's not because we're obsessed with money. It's because money is power. And what you're seeing is, as the organization gains power, human beings are surprise. They're being human. Human beings, they go after power. Power is something that you have to take. It's usually not something that's given away and easily shared. So the chapters are saying, you've got all the money, you've got all the power, you're keeping all that to yourselves. Now, do me a favor, guys, if you could, real quick, please hit the thumbs up button. Whatever platform you're watching from, hit the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe. Whatever platform you're on, subscribe to it and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when we go live. Everybody do that. Type a yes in the chat after you do that. One of those three things, or all three. Share, subscribe, notification bell, and maybe share. Make that number 4 if you could do that. We're building Black media. We want Black-owned media so we can have a Black-owned narrative, because we can't have white people controlling discussions that are supposed to happen with Black people. Can you do that for me? If you can do that, I'd appreciate that. All right. So here I'm going to read a little bit more of this article. This article is in Black Agenda Report. It's all about what happened with Black Lives Matter and what's going on with the money and the funding with Black Lives Matter. So we read the first 3 elements of this open letter. The chapters wrote an open letter basically claiming and making, now, mind you, these are accusations. This is not, this isn't definitive proof or anything like that, but it is a concern they seem to have. So we mentioned number 1 was that Patrisse Cullors, the sole board member of the Black Lives Matter Global Network, which is kind of a spinoff from Black Lives Matter. They created this spinoff, and it almost sounds like they split it between the Global Network and the Grassroots Network. And they're claiming also that the Grassroots Network, it was created without their consent, and that they were kind of lumped in that category without even being asked about it. Also, they said in 3, the formation of Black Lives Matter Grassroots effectively separated the majority of chapters from the Global Network without their consent and interrupted the active process of accountability. Number 4, in our experience, chapter organizers have been consistently prevented from establishing financial transparency, collective decision-making, or collaboration on political analysis and vision within the Black Lives Matter Global Network. I'm going to stop right there, because here's one of the things that I'm thinking about too. You get a lot of people. There's a lot of people, honestly, that I believe who support Black Lives Matter because they agree with the term Black Lives Matter, but never took time to go read the website. Never took the time to go really dig into what am I supporting? You know, it's almost like dating somebody who is a serial killer, but serial killers, you know, ladies know serial killers show up as nice guys. That's the most charming man in the room. So you might like him because he got swag and he's good looking and he says the right things. He's wearing alligator shoes, whatever it is you matter because he's right. But later on, you find out slowly but surely the crazy starts to come out. Or men, we might trust a big butt and a smile, and then later on find out that this lady that came disguised as a gift from God is actually our worst nightmare, right? So a lot of times the big mistake we make, it seems, is we make decisions fast, right? So a lot of people, I think, jumped on that Black Lives Matter bandwagon because we're Black and we know our lives matter, but they don't understand that this might have been a wolf in sheep's clothing, that this was a whole nother agenda, right? And that really doesn't have a lot to do with the Black community. So what I'm suspecting here is part of this is what I'm getting at. I wouldn't be surprised if it is the case that they are trying to pull the money over here, pull the power over here, and the corporate connections and all the political influence over here, and keep the organizations over there. It's probably because there are people in the organization who say, look, I didn't sign up for all this extra stuff. I didn't sign up for this whole dismantling the nuclear family and I mean, I got nothing against LGBT people, but I don't want to, I'm not trying to go seek out an organization that's chasing after this kind of issue. So I think that they're probably resisting people internally who came for one thing, but they were trying to get them to buy into another. Like you're supporting something other than what you thought you were supporting. So now they're trying to move the direction of the ship. And they're saying, look, no, we're the captain of the ship. You can be a passenger or a crewmate, but you cannot drive this ship. What do you guys think about what I just said? Either one.
Well, no, I totally agree, man. And, the thing about this is we have to understand, especially as Black people, one of the most dangerous things against white supremacy is an independent Black thinking community, independent thinking Black group. I mean, just look at Nation of Islam right now. Look at how it's being deplatformed. They can't show up on Facebook. Twitter, YouTube, or any social media. Why? Because it's an independent Black group that can't be controlled. They don't even get media time. So it's the same thing with Black Lives Matter, I believe. I believe they did start off sincere, but it's just like, wait a minute, we can't have Black folks independently, collectively coming together as a unit tackling, police brutality. Because once we start coming together on that certain issue, we can come together on economics. We can come together on politics or anything that's beneficial. So it has to be squashed and it has to be hijacked. So yes, sadly, those chapter members, a lot of them are really sincerely involved in the movement. But, like my dad always told me, he said, cui bono, who benefits? What I'm saying? When it comes to these movements or any event, you got to look at who benefits. Who's the one promoting Black Lives Matter tomorrow? Who is the one using them, and how is it being used? And ultimately, overall, who benefits? Is it Black people, or is it rich white people or media institutions using them to further their agenda? And I think that's what Black people got to look at. And I'm happy that these chapters are bringing this money issue up, because it's going to cause us to think.
Okay, John.
Yeah, I again, I agree, because I remember hearing this story about this one, maybe it was Tamika Miley or somebody. I was trying to find it, and not surprisingly, I couldn't find anything that really said anything against Black Lives Matter. But it was the story I heard about was some people flew into town for whatever event was going on. Maybe it was Ahmaud Arbery, and a lot of people were protesting, and they already had a local activist group there. And this group that flew in from the Black Lives Matter organization, I guess they came in, and the stuff that they were saying, it was not gelling well with the activist group. So they told them, like, you know what, you flew in off the plane, you can just go back because we got this. So all of these things, and even for some of the chapters that are, just like you said, that are really trying to do well, they're not getting the money. You have all these millions of dollars that are rolling in. And I agree with Tariq, like whenever you see white media highly praising something that's supposed to be Black, I don't really trust it, man, because I don't trust, historically, I can't trust mainstream media, which is driven by white supremacy, to really be upfront and genuine when it comes to Black issues, because they don't really want Black progression. Like, white supremacy is sadly anti-Black progression, So with all of that being said, I'm not even surprised that they're not getting this money. They've been struggling, trying to get some kind of information and been pushed out. And all of this has been kind of like sneakily set up without them knowing and them having to find out like after the fact. I'm not surprised by it at all.
To add on to what the brother said, which is very powerful, about what he mentioned about white media. Like I said, Black people, we have to understand propaganda. I think our main problem is we don't understand how propaganda works. And like I said, white people understand how propaganda works. That's why when they look at websites fly at the root, they say, okay, no, we need to control the narrative. We can't have Black folks talking about Black issues. So let's control the narrative and let's put our poison in it. Let me ask y'all a question. You don't know any other group, like take for example, name one Black-owned news media or group that is Black-owned from the top, but then they hire people, like, let's say they hire Latinos to push a Latino culture, or they hire Jews to push the Jewish culture. That doesn't exist. Why? Because the people would revolt. Before they even read it, they will look to see who owns it. That's what we must do as African Americans. We must look at who owns what and who is funding what before we put our full support behind it, because a lot of these things are detrimental to our community.
Yeah, what it seems like? It seems to me like they don't really, that the respect for Black people is incredibly low, because they know they can pull those sucker moves on us, and a lot of us will fall for it. You just get, just people that really reject the idea of any form of strong leadership or independent thinking or critical thinking. I think about even when Ricky Smiley interviewed Kamala Harris, and Kamala started singing Atomic Dog, and he literally said that she's got my vote because she sings Atomic Dog. And remember, it was and that's why Ricky Smiley has that big following, because the world is just full of dumb motherfuckers. Let's just be honest. Just people that just really want to be stupid, that want to sit still, that don't want to move forward, that don't want to rebel against anything, and that whole kind of shuck and jive and lazy thinking is very popular. So I think that that's one of the things that other people see. Other people see that in us. If when you ever get a chance, has anybody ever had a chance to be around like people from other communities and listen to how they describe Black people? Has anybody ever gone through that? Tell me if you guys ever seen it, where you get around somebody who's real comfortable telling you what they really think, and because they maybe know you won't get offended, and you're hearing them talk, right? Part of you is getting pissed off because what they're saying is so terrible, but then the other part of you is sad because some of it's true. Like some of you'll be like, damn, we really do that. It's kind of crazy, and I hate saying it like that. I don't mean to be harsh, because you hurt people's feelings and stuff, but I just tell you, it's hilarious. Like, so they know they can pull those rope-a-dopes on us, and they can pull tricks on Black people that they can't really pull on a lot of people, not of other ethnic groups in the United States. I don't think they could do the same thing to the Chinese or to the Jews or to any other group. What do you guys think?
I mean, what I was going to mention earlier, and this ties into what you just said. I mean, look at what happened, for instance, with Colin Kaepernick. Like over these years, like he didn't even really do anything. He just took a knee, right? And then they asked him questions. Why are you taking a knee? He answered the question. They didn't like the answer. And it's just like, well, you didn't have to ask me anything. I'm just over here just minding my business. Because when that first took, I thought he was like taking a knee in the middle of the game. This was before the cameras really even turned on. And they ended up getting rid of him. Then once they found out that, we made a mistake, they didn't even hire him back. That's what you do when you really want to apologize. You hire the person back, but they didn't hire him back because they knew he was going to be still potentially vocal, and he was going to push them there because they're gonna have everybody else that's already in the NFL. Yeah, you're gonna kind of be the face, but don't say too much. Just say enough that NFL supports Black lives, and yeah, just go on about your business, get your paycheck, and shut the hell up. Go back and play. And that's basically what's going on with these organizations that are supported by mainstream media, where it's just like, we uplift this amazing organization for Black people, but it's like, are you really pursuing a Black agenda? Because if you were, they wouldn't be supporting you like that.
It almost gets to the point where you don't trust any organization that's too celebrated by white people. Like because the racism is so real, and that you almost look at it like I hate thinking this way, but it's like if you're being really celebrated by white folks, it's usually because there's something wrong with you, right? And it may not even be a matter of them always just waking up in the morning and saying, okay, we want to figure out how to oppress Black people today. I think it's more so that arrogance that might come with their version of white supremacy, where they feel that their agenda is the one that matters the most. And so the best way they believe they can help you, like sometimes your friends can oppress you as much as your enemies, because they in their mind, it's more of a paternalistic kind of relationship with Black people. Like I'm going to help you Negroes by making you more like me, because if you become more like me and I'm white, and which means I'm special, if I make you more like me, I get you out of the hood, dust you off, send you to a white school to be educated by white people. It's almost like bringing a dirty car to the car wash. And then I get to sit back and say, I am a friend to the Negro, because look at where this Negro was before. And now look at him. He's nice and clean. He's wearing nice clothes. He's got the nice job. He's not in jail. So I am a friend to Black people. Right. And so I think that's kind of, what I see definitely with the Black Lives Matter organization. You can't convince me in a million years that Black Lives Matter from its core was started by Black people and initiated completely by Black people and funded by Black. You can't convince. I wouldn't believe that in a billion years. What do you guys think?
And just to add on to what you said, brother, about as far as what other groups think, because I used to live in I lived in Saudi Arabia for 1 year because my dad worked for an oil company out there when I was a teenager. And I'm telling you, man, this is a totally different country and culture. But the way they viewed me as a Black man is they thought I was a great basketball player or I can rap really good, seriously. And, I made a lot of friends there, but I noticed, I've even came up with a rap name because I was trying to actually live up to that stereotype. And I was trying to play basketball to prove it true. And it just shows that the Black image by the media that is not controlled by black people. Black people have to understand this. They put out the image of our people only being, in sports. We're all into sports, or we do hip hop, and that's it. So yeah, man, that image controlled by white people is making a bad image of black people. And then the other thing, what the brother said about Colin Kaepernick, I'm glad he brought that up. It shows how white people are. It's like they are thinking ahead of us. Like they're looking at Colin Kaepernick and they're saying, okay, how can we utilize this? When Colin Kaepernick took a knee, in my opinion, the first time, that was when Obama was elected. And I thought that was sincere. That was him doing it, out of sincerity, doing the best that he can. But just notice how the media wasn't really pushing him. And to me, here's where the politics come. It feels like Colin Kaepernick exploded under Donald Trump. That's what to me it looks like. I felt like when Donald Trump got involved, he said whatever he did, the media hiding it, of course, got black folks triggered. Notice how NFL players finally started taking it seriously, finally started talking about it. I'm like, where were you guys when he first started, when they got rid of him? Why do y'all take a knee and leave with them? Why do y'all now wait until white people and white liberals get mad and put a political agenda on it? Now you want to be pro-black. Now you want to start kneeling. To me, that's the problem right there. That's the hijacking, because there's always a political agenda when white people do that. Black people have to wake up to this. And yeah, man, that's pretty much what I say on the issue.
Well, and it's interesting you bring it up like that, because, it's like, as much as we want to put all this on white people, we know white people going to be white, but you got to put a lot of this on us, right? Even if you talk about something like the support for Barack Obama, which my support changed over time once I realized that, at least 80% of his presidency was bullshit. But it's fine. He's a solid guy, and he's a good white president. That's fine. But here's the thing about Obama that was interesting. Black people didn't really start supporting Obama until white people started supporting Obama. Before white people supported Obama, black people were supporting Hillary Clinton. And then Obama went to Iowa, and a bunch of white people in Iowa supported Obama. That's when black people said, oh, we got permission now. And then he went down south to South Carolina, and then the momentum started picking up. But I remember that distinctly, because I remember at the time where I said, I think this guy might be able to actually catch Hillary. And I felt crazy saying it because he was so far behind Hillary in the polls. But a few weeks later, when white folks started moving in that direction, the Negroes got behind it. And I think it might maybe a lot of it, and I don't want to be too mean about it, but a lot of it might just be a self-esteem thing. Like we don't know who we are. We look over and say, okay, boss, who am I going to be this week? Well, now you're going to be, we're going to fight on immigrants this week. Okay, all right, boss, immigrants. We mad about the immigrants. Or that dang Donald Trump. A lot of I saw black folks getting madder about Donald Trump and Ice Cube and stuff like that than we actually get about issues that really affect us in a terrible way. I can't get you fired up about, the fact that 40 kids in Chicago got murdered this week, but I can get you fired up over what CNN said about Donald Trump and his conversation on COVID, right? Not to say that Trump is a great guy. I'm not here to defend Trump. I don't think any of us are. I don't think it's fine if you did, but that's not my job. But it's fascinating to see what things we jump on board with and what things we just kind of don't pay attention to.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that, because, well, even just slightly touching on the Colin Kaepernick thing, even like when all that happened, the one thing that I've learned to emotionally detach myself from certain things now, but at the time I was so pissed off, man, because so many black people who are supposedly pro-black, they wouldn't stop watching the football games. They wouldn't boycott the NFL, and they still won't. And then they sit there and complain about the things that's going on, but it's like, but you are still participating and it takes a simple board. Just watch something else. Watch something else. There's so much stuff on TV that you can watch, but you won't boycott to make your stand, to stand with your other black brother right here, who is risking it all. Like when Muhammad Ali did, when Muhammad Ali risked it all, because he was like, no, I'm not going to fight your war. I'm not doing that. Where's the support? Where is the support? We don't support each other. And we need to, and that goes back to what we were talking about the other day. It's okay for us to be critical of one another. We can't just let everything slide. Like we need to stop being so emotional of certain things that don't even really affect us. And Donald Trump and all that, what different has happened except for people are getting more emboldened? But the same things are happening. We're still getting killed by the police. people are still hanging black people. All this stuff's happened under Barack Obama. Nothing has changed except for white people got a little bit more emboldened. But all this, well, gay rights and the kids in cages, all this stuff is still going on. Like, what? Why?
Don't forget that we're all gonna die from COVID. Like they act like a 99.9% survival rate is the same as a 99.9% death rate. Like they just, I think people forget that. But you're right though. I mean, it's like whatever issue the media gives people, that's what they grab onto. Now let me read a little bit more of the statement from Black Lives Matter in the chapters to you, and I'd like to get you guys' thoughts on this. And everybody who's watching, I'm speaking with John F. Thomas and Tariq. Sorry, man. Tariq Abdul Khalik. And we're talking about Black Lives Matter and their little interesting financial situation. Looks like they have a revolt going on with some of the chapters over the money. And y'all know me, I just believe everything ultimately comes back to the money. So I'm gonna read. So hit the thumbs up button if you're watching on any platform. Hit the thumbs up button. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. And if you really want to help us, share the video. Please share the video. We could really use your help. All right, so I'm gonna read more of this to you. Okay, so here I read the first 4 pieces of their open letter where they accused Patrisse Cullors of basically making herself the sole board member of the Black Lives Matter Global Network. I mean, that's pretty audacious. She's the only board member. They also mentioned that Black Lives Matter got spin off once the money started coming in. They're claiming that they spun it off into this global network, which I'm going to guess is controlling most of the money. And then Black Lives Matter Grassroots, which kind of includes, I guess, the peasants in the group. They don't seem happy that grassroots section was created. They also talked about chapter organizers have been basically trying to get financial transparency and have not been able to get it. Number 5, for years, there's been an inquiry regarding financial operations of the Black Lives Matter Global Network and no acceptable process of either public or internal transparency about the unknown millions of dollars donated to the Black Lives Matter Global Network, which has certainly increased during the time of pandemic and rebellion. 6, to the best of our knowledge, most chapters have received little to no financial support. This is a big one. They're claiming that most chapters have received little to no financial support from the Black Lives Matter Global Network since the launch in 2013. It was only in the last few months that selected chapters appear to have been invited to apply for a $500,000 grant created with resources generated because of the organizing labor of chapters. This is not the equity and financial accountability we deserve. So they're basically saying that the chapters are not getting financial support, or most of them are not, and that the only thing that they did out of receiving, what probably, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they collected $1 billion. All the companies were writing fat checks to Black Lives Matter. I don't know where this money was going. Maybe it was going over to white Jesus or something. But they were writing big checks. And so the most you can do is create a $500,000 grant that people can apply for. $500,000 is nothing when you're sitting on damn near $1 billion. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't $1 billion. Maybe it was a few $100 million. But I remember big corporations writing massive checks. And I remember just asking how much of that money is trickling to the Black community. What do you think about it? Go ahead, bro.
Well, you know what, man? I honestly think, the Black Lives Matter organization is probably done with these chapters and, probably trying to phase them away. Because, like I said before in this propaganda war, you don't want too many highly educated, woke Black people who are actually doing the work, helping Black people in a legit manner. If it's not following a certain agenda of whoever white donors you have, you want to get rid of them. So I think this is why they are being disrespected. And Black people really have to understand this because, I really pay attention to foreign policy. The United States is very good at orchestrating civil wars and civil conflicts in other countries. Just look at the war in Syria. We're over here funding these rebels. If we had not gave these rebels funds and ammunition, that civil war would be over with. The same thing that's going on in Russia and Crimea. Why are we funding other countries, giving them military aid and weaponry? That's to fund a civil conflict. So we have to understand we are dealing with intelligent people who are doing the exact same thing to Black people. It may not be with weaponry, but it is with media and it is with funding. And if they see that there is a problem, they need to be squashed. Either ignore them, disrespect them, or phase them out. But That's what I believe. And, maybe these chapters need to go on their own and, raise their money for themselves and start their own thing.
Well, you wonder if the Black Lives Matter organization was ramped up because it was an election year. When the elections come up, their goal is to get Negroes excited, right? They want to trigger us, right? Because they know that we're the most traumatized people in the room. So the goal is to say, okay, well, look at what they're doing to black people. Look at what they did to him. And then they show this video over and over of them killing a black person. And then we say, oh, well, we got to do something. Well, what can we do? What can we do? Go vote for me. Vote for me. And then that'll make you feel better. Right. And it's again, because the world is full of people that are just not that thoughtful in terms of sort of, connecting the dots. It is utterly fascinating that the two people we were told to vote for are very largely responsible for the creation of the criminal justice complex, the what they call the prison industrial complex we have right now, right? Like like Kamala Harris and Joe Biden were right in the middle of that, creating, facilitating, supporting, pushing that, locking black people up in droves by the thousands and thousands and thousands. Excuse me, the way Hitler sent thousands and thousands and thousands, millions of Jews off to die, they were sending hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of black people off to either die or be tortured in prison. And when I say that, it sounds like I'm being dramatic, but most of us in here know somebody who has been in the criminal justice system. It's not normal that we can look at our whole community and every single person can say, oh yeah, I know somebody who went to prison, or I've been to prison, or I know somebody who got murdered, right? So anyway, John, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, what do you think in terms of if you were a Black Lives Matter chapter, what would you do?
Man, I would ask for more accountability and transparency, but if I'm not getting it, then I'm branching off and doing my own thing, which is probably what should have happened anyway, because after a while, just with me and hearing about all this stuff and about what Black Lives Matter, and then not sure where the funds are going. And I know there was a video of it going to Act Blue, and then it was showing all the different money going to Biden and going to Pete Buttigieg and all this other stuff. And you just wondering, it's like, okay, well, where is this money going? Because they're like, oh, well, it's not going yet. Act Blue gives to all these other organizations but it's not taking Black Lives Matter money and giving it to them. But it's like, well, okay, well, where is that money going? And it's disrespectful. It's highly disrespectful to have basically you're dangling a little check and like, hey, who wants this $500,000 grant? Well, come on and get it. And it's just like, you have all these millions of dollars, and you're gonna ask me to I have to write an essay to get this money for the chapter that we deserve. You owe us this money anyway. Why do we have these chapters if we can't get money to do what we need to do in the streets to affect change, to really help these people, to really push these politicians to be held accountable? And this whole thing has been co-opted. It reminds me of when Malcolm X he was debating this guy a while back, and he was talking to the guy. He was just like, well, you have these organizations coming in on behalf of like black people, but they're not being run by black people. But you have the people in the community who have the same organization, nonprofit organization. Nobody's giving them money, but you're giving the white people money to do the stuff for black people. And it's like, how can you trust that? They're not even part of their community. They don't really know the needs of their community, but they're giving money to this organization just because it has some white people around it. Oh, we trust that. And it's a lot of things that we just need to be held more accountable for. We need to hold each other more accountable. And yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, it seems to me that there definitely haven't been adequate answers that I've seen anywhere in terms of what's going on with this money. It doesn't seem like they really are being real clear with people. And I think that it's the reason I think that we could be offended to a point is because, black people, they need the money, right? Black businesses need funding. Can't even get a bank to loan them, basic capital. I know black business owners that are making money who can't get a bank loan. And the fact that they will, when you tell them what they need and or what, as black people, we will say, we want this, we need that. And then they say, no, we don't care what you say you need. We're going to give you what we think you need. Right. And I just find that to be that's another sign of the disrespect that still exists in this country. And so you can't be my ally if you don't respect me on any level. Like if I tell you what I need and you feel like you can decide what I need, I tell you what I want to eat and you order for me every time. Like no, you really don't want filet mignon. You really want a bowl of shit. Like who the fuck are you? Like what is wrong with you? And that's pretty much what they do. They give black people what they think black people should have, and that is the biggest form of white supremacy that there is. What do you think, T?
Well, this is where I think black accountability comes in, because none of this would happen if black people stopped accepting it. We still believe in this. If their skin color is my same skin color, then that every interest is aligned with ours. And it's like we don't do no back research. Who's funding these people? You know what I'm saying? It was the same thing with Barack Obama. I'm looking at, okay, who is funding Barack Obama? Okay, I'm seeing big banks. You know what I'm saying? Big rich donors that black people don't know about. This is who these people answer to. This is who controls the power. Our people need to learn how to look at this, and we need to be the ones asking these questions instead of, we are watching the chapters go at it with Black Lives Matter, and I'm glad you are bringing it up, but you don't see like our black media all, coming together, unified, demanding where this money is. You don't see the celebrity class coming together. You're not going to see a CNN story about it, because this is all designed to just keep us like this, to keep us just not asking questions, where you can just throw a black face in front of us and we'll accept it. And it's like you said with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, both of these people who have been extremely bad with black people, locking them up, and they just get a pass because a lot of black celebrities who are paid by white people support them, and you get the black bourgeoisie on the mainstream media who black people don't even know. These are black people that come out of nowhere that we don't even. They're not a household name. We don't even know them, and they're that mouthpiece of the black people. That's what I'm saying. We have to wake up to this brainwashing, man, or this is going to keep happening, and I don't know what's going to stop to get this to change.
Well, going back to the importance of money, I think whenever you want to understand almost anything that happens in America, you just got to follow the money, And if I want to understand what your incentives are, all I got to do is figure out who's paying you. You're working for the person that's paying you. And I think that when you're talking about a lot of this stuff, a lot of these movements and everything else, it's frustrating to me because I can see right through that stuff, man. I just see it. I'm like, okay, so this person's doing this over here, is doing that to make it look like this one is really that. And the biggest thing I think we can do as far as solutions is, let go of this idea of white people suddenly becoming wonderful people. Like, it's not that they're bad. I'm not saying that all of them are bad. I don't hate all white people. I don't have no time to be running around hating people. But stop thinking that they as a collective are just going to decide, okay, we want to put the black community's interests above our own. In fact, if they ever act like they want to put your interests above their interests, you need to be suspicious, because they're running the game on you. Like the fact that they want you to take the vaccine first, right? We're not going to talk about all of that, right? No, you take. I insist, right? But I do think that when you really look at this, it really comes down to a couple of things that we can do that I think will help secure our interests. And one is build our. First of all, we need our own media. That's why everybody watching, if you could, please hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. If we have our own media and we're having our own conversations, we don't have to worry about what conversations they're having, because we're having a different conversation over here, right? And this ain't going to be infiltrated. At least not to my knowledge. I'm not going to let that happen. The second piece is people have to understand that in order to be free and successful, you have to pay your own bills. There's rarely such a thing as like true freedom and sovereignty when somebody else is paying your way. I was jogging with Alicia, and we were talking about, we're both college professors, and she was talking about how parents will call her and they'll say, well, how's my child doing in your class? And they have rules at the universities that say that the kids, that they can't release any information about the student to anybody, including the parent. And the parent would be like, well, wait a minute, I'm paying the tuition. And she said, yeah, but she said, but they're adults, and we can't release that information because they're adults. And I just said, the way I was raised, you ain't really an adult if somebody's paying your bills. You know, like, so I can understand why the parents would be mad. And the reason I bring that point up is to say that Black people will not be adults until we learn to pay our own bills, right? As long as you're waiting on a white man to take care of you and to pay for you, and you got money to buy, you know, new shoes and go to the club, but you want him to buy books for your children, right? Because you don't think that that's important, or you want to beg for the things you need and spend money on the things you want. Well, then you're always going to be treated like a child, right? And you think about this. I mean, if I couldn't pay my own bills and I went to go stay with one of y'all, you know, we're all cool. But if I stayed in your house and I couldn't pay my own bills, eventually you'd be like, you know, ain't you got somewhere to go? like you got to contribute. You can't just be up in here just living and thinking you're equal to me. You're not equal to me if you're begging from me. You're not equal to. You're not. You just can't be, right? And so for us, we will never be equal to anything or anyone as long as we are begging. So I say stop begging and start building, you know, and I think that if we do that, then we'll put so much energy into doing that we won't have time to sit around and be mad about what other people are trying to do, because they're always going to be infiltrating. They're always, if you're silly enough to be used, somebody's always going to use you, because they always, we know they need our votes. We know they need our money. We know they need our talent. We know they need our labor. We know they need all these things from us. So it's up to us to decide how we're going to give that away. And I see it as a fork in the road. I think some people are going to always give it all away. And that's the game. They play the victim game. The cycle of victimhood is I volunteer myself for victimhood on a regular basis. That way I get to continuously claim myself to be a victim, because I'm addicted to feeling sorry for myself. But that empowerment route says I'm going to change my behavior so that I'm no longer a victim. But empowerment takes a type of accountability that a lot of people ain't ready for. They ain't really ready for, you know, that's why they get mad if people have solutions or tell you, hey, you can do this on your own, because it's like, wait a minute, you're putting it on me now. I don't know if I can carry that load, right? So some people are just going to walk away from that. But what I like about you guys is you guys carry that load. I'll let you guys get the last words before we bounce out. John, what's your final thought?
My final thought is just like you said, we have to start investing more in one another. Like whether that's businesses, whether that's you see somebody that has this talent and you know that they can take off, we need to start investing in one another and stop looking for, just like you said, for white people just to come to their senses in a sense and really just realize, oh, we've been treating Black people wrong. Like, no, they've been doing that. And they're probably still going to keep doing it. So they're not as much as our allies as we think they are. So we have to really look to self. We have to save ourselves. We can't look to anybody else to save us. And that's the thing we have to do, whether that's educating ourselves, whether that's creating opportunity for ourselves and each other. Those are the things we need to do. And it's not an easy road. It's not. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's so easy. I just flip the switch and boom, everything has changed. No, it's not going to be that easy. And there is going to be resistance from the powers that be. But power begets power. Like they're not, I'm not going to respect you if you don't have power. So in order for us to get power, to get that respect, we have to do the hard work, and that starts here, to where we have to stay up late at night, just like Dr. Boy says every once in a while, where you work so hard at your job, but then you don't even work on your own dream when you get home. Like you put in all these hours at work, but you're not doing nowhere near the amount of work on your own dreams. And also we need to stop just because somebody like Kamala Harris is like, oh yeah, she's Black, she's an AKA, that doesn't mean anything to me, because she can still turn on me. I mean, there was a movie in the Django where the dude, Samuel Jackson's character, was working under the guy. And he basically, boss, you hugging him. We have people like that in office who look like us, but they hug so tight to white supremacy. And we can't believe everything just because they have the same skin tone. So we have to hold people accountable, ask questions, and ask for transparency, and just put in the hard work.
All right, hard work. Okay, T.
I completely agree with the business ownership, especially because we had too many examples of what happens to Black people when they work for white people and they try to act, like you would say, Boyce Watkins, Dr. Boyce Watkins too Black. I mean, look what happened to Nick Cannon. He said something. He tried to fight back, talking about he's going to get Wild 'N Out back. But I guess the pressure behind the scenes got him so badly. He's been apologizing every day. He's been reading books on other people's cultures and writing essays on it. It's crazy. He pretty much got whooped and emasculated in front of everybody. And, you know, the same thing, you know, we can say the same thing about Snoop Dogg. You know, when Snoop Dogg came out against Gayle King, you know, I mean, Snoop Dogg got that show. I forget what that white lady, I forget her name. And, you know, with Martha Stewart and some other endorsements. And, you know, you see, the thing is, these people are so powerful, they don't have to protest. You know, they just, who does he work for? Okay, well, then fire him. And that's it. You know what I'm saying? That's it. But, you know, you got people like Dr. Bush Watkins, you know, or Minister Louis Farrakhan. I mean, they can say whatever they want. No one is going to fire you. And that's what makes you an enemy. So, yes, owning own businesses. And even if even if Black folks don't have, you know, you specifically don't have your own media, support independent Black media where you see conversations like this going on that will never take place on the mainstream media, not even on our so-called Black mainstream media platforms. This type of conversation will never take place, okay? Because it's waking Black people up. These are the platforms that you need to support, share, and uplift. And if you see white people talking bad about them and writing articles, have their back. Like, don't just be quiet, cowardly. Have their back and say, you guys don't control us. That's how we're going to change this narrative.
Well, you know, I tell you what, you are right. I was always, you know, when I first started becoming aware of how racism works, I was really kind of sad and confused because, you know, I was never really like a radical person. You know, I wasn't a bully. I wasn't going around yelling and barking at people. And I just thought it was so strange that I had Black people that were just scared to be around me, you know, and there were white people that were intimidated by me, you know, because I could see through their bullshit. You know, I mean, now I know what was going on, but I didn't understand it at the time. And I realized I think that authentic Blackness is hard. It's hard to carry that, you know, because I think that generally speaking, we are raised to believe that we can't do anything without white people. Like, we need them. Like, they have to be in the room for anything good to happen, anything productive to occur. You know, like, we can't go and start a factory without white people. We can't go and start a business without white people. You know, and I think it's so that really says to me that when you're talking about people that are really getting off the grid and building and willing to, you know, fight the good fight and do what needs to be done, people like that have to really know who they are, because you're not going to get a lot of validation from white people. Like, the validation that we grow up, you know, like observing, like getting whether it's academic degrees from white people or fancy jobs or big salaries or NAACP image awards or whatever, right? We grow up thinking that those things are types of validation. When you go in my space, I don't get validation. Like, you know what I mean? I get it from my people. Like, and what I like about it is, it's like, what I figured out is that it's better just for me to have like a few really good, solid people around me, because I'll trade one strong Black man for 100 flaky Negroes in a minute. You know what I mean? Like a one strong Black woman, you know, like, you know, you got like a Vicky Dillard type person by your side. Like it takes a special formula to create like a Vicky Dillard, because it's not like there's millions of people out there like that, you know, but Vicky Dillard can burn through 1,000 wimpy Negroes who don't know who they are in a minute, you know, because she's got a type of strength and a type of core and a foundation that a lot of people don't have. And it's really that foundational piece. You know, so if you know who you are, and then people like that tend to be not just clear in their identity, they just tend to be smarter, harder working, more courageous, less afraid. And if you have people like that, I literally believe it's like a 10-to-1 trade-off. Like, you know, because most people out here don't really know who the hell they are. They ain't ready to try to take on white supremacy. White supremacy is a powerful, well-organized system that prevents lots of carrots and sticks to incentivize your behavior. And you have to really be conscious and extremely acute and aware to be able to even feel like you have the ability to walk away from that and be okay, right? So I totally get it. Like, when I see Negroes folding, I actually understand, because I look at like a Nick Cannon or a Snoop, and it was almost like when Snoop even said his original statement, I didn't even like the fact that he said it, because it's almost like somebody picking up. It's almost like you about to go into battle and they pick up the biggest gun. And you don't even know how to shoot a weapon. Like, you haven't even been trained in battle. Maybe you need to stay back with the women. Like, you really need to get back. You know, like you don't need to be out on the battlefield, man. You're not ready, right? But they're like, no, I'm ready, because people think that it's just about talk. But when it gets real, for real, Like when that white man comes and starts taking your money and taking your maybe taking your reputation, taking your freedom in some cases, a lot of folks ain't ready for that. So you got to, whatever you sign up for, you need to make sure you're prepared for that, and everybody ain't ready for that. So I would have actually been happier if Snoop had never said anything, as opposed to jumping out there and then folding when everything got super real. You know, so and that's the difference between like a guy like that and a guy like a Farrakhan or even an Ice Cube. Actually, when I had conversations with Cube, it was like I would test him and ask him questions about it and say, so how do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? And eventually I was like, okay, I get it. He doesn't give a fuck. That's good. Yo, we can do this, right? He's not gonna buckle or fold or start apologizing or start shifting his behavior. And a lot of it also links to the fact you cannot disconnect that from the fact that Cube has his own business. This man has his own money. You know, he's not looking for a job, right? So that's why I say for the black man, especially, if you want to have that type of strength, you got to have some things that you own so that if the heat gets too hot, you can still stand on your words, stand on your principles. A lot of people can't do that because they're not even raised that way. So anyway, I'm done. Thank you guys for letting me say all that. I didn't mean to do all that yapping at the end. I hope that information was helpful.
Yeah. No, it was really good, man. I appreciate you inviting us onto this platform because it's something that needs to be spoken about. I appreciate everybody that was tuning in and giving their thoughts and comments, man, because we do need more black media like this for us to speak our mind without fear of any kind of punishment or, you know, somebody's going to take my job or anything like that. So we need more stuff like that, you know, so that way we're not silenced, because definitely the black men, they are really trying to silence us across the board.
Yeah. Well, can you imagine how much liberation could occur in the black community overnight if we simply committed to training our children to create their own job? Like how many times have you seen black people want to say something and not be able to say it because they're scared of losing their job? Like that's literally the number one factor. Like that's the number one slavery enforcement mechanism in America is I don't want to lose my job. If we get our kids just over that little hump where maybe they got some assets in the bank or they got some skill where they can actually create, you know, their own opportunities, that right there would liberate millions of people, you know? So it's not a hard equation. It's not complex. It comes back to the economics. So I think the best way to solve that complex problem is to focus on the one or two things that matter. The one thing that matters is the economics. We handle that, we good. So there we go. Anyway, I want to say,
first black.
Did you have something you want to say on that?
No, yeah, I was just saying that's why they celebrate, you know, the first black person being hired to do this or that, to train black people to be excited about that so our children can work towards that instead of us celebrating black people creating their own businesses and working for maybe black companies, and then we do our own thing. You know, that's why that's so heavily celebrated.
There you go. That's right. Yeah, and I don't celebrate that anymore. Like I you know, we all grew up celebrating the Jackie Robinson type stuff or whatever. And then I was like, why is it that I'm supposed to celebrate because you let me sit next to you, but you would never be celebrating me letting you sit next to me? That right there is white supremacy. So anybody who celebrates that type of stuff is a white supremacist. And that means even if you're black, if you will celebrate. So every time anybody who's watching, if you want to do a little test, whenever you get tempted to celebrate something, I want you to switch the race around and say, okay, if it was us given the award, would they be celebrating it as white history? Would they say that this is the greatest white person ever because black people finally let him into an HBCU? Like, would white people ever had that conversation? No, they have not. So anyway, this is a great conversation, guys. I appreciate you hanging out with me. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
All right, and everybody, this is John F. Thomas. His handle on social media is JT Slim Cutter. So I hope you'll go follow John at JT Slim Cutter. It's right there on the screen. And my other brother, Mr. T. Khalik, I'm going to enlarge in his screen also so you can see his information right there. So just look him up on Facebook and you can follow him. He has a lot of good conversations. T really has a lot of things to talk about. And I think that these are the kinds of voices we got to hear. We got to hear more voices like that. Doesn't mean that all our answers are right. It just means that black men deserve to have a voice too. And if you agree with that, I hope you will subscribe to something, definitely, or at least maybe the Black Boss channel. These guys also do things on the Black Boss channel. It's theblackbosschannel.com. And basically it's where black men are speaking. And when black men talk, the rest of the world needs to shut up and listen. It's just like on Fly Nubian Queen, when black women talk, The world needs to shut up and listen. If you love black women, you'll shut up and listen when black women are talking, and vice versa goes for black men. And if you agree with that, I hope you'll say something in the chat so we can know that we're not alone. So thank you guys. It was great talking to you brothers today, and thank you everybody for listening. And we'll see you guys soon. So take care. Bye bye.